people, stay dandy, baby. The rematch of the century is finally here, my friends. It's Deku versus Shinso in the latest episode of My Hero Academia. But before we begin my review today, if you like my content, if you're liking my videos, please think about subscribing to the channel and maybe checking out my Patreon page. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choosing. So thank you all for those who have been making those monthly donations. You're pretty freaking super. And speaking of super, this was a super heroic episode of My Hero Academia, the one that I think a lot of fans have been waiting for this season, finally getting to see the main character Deku in action and get a little bit of control of his brand new powers, which manifested in the last episode of the series as the Black Whip ability, as we now know that the successors of his distinctive quirk also had their very own abilities, which are going to be passed on to the green-haired little hero, and it leads to a lot of really great moments in this episode. And you know, even with Deku versus Shinso and everything, the other characters actually managed to have their time to shine. And I think one of the most surprising ones for me had to be Mineta. Since the beginning of the series, Mineta has been relegated to essentially being the funny character of the series, the comic relief, the type of character who's basically there just to make you laugh. But I knew there was going to be a few moments where he would show a little bit of competency, and this is certainly that episode right here, as all of Deku's teammates have been bolstered by his ability to fight through controlling his powers, and they're basically giving it their all throughout the course of this entire episode. And it leads to a lot of great moments with him utilizing his abilities in conjunction with Mina as well as Ochako. They all work really well alone as well together, and there's some fantastic moments from pretty much every character in this episode. I especially loved the moment where Ochako was able to take down Monoma, but even after Monoma was captured, even after that, he still manages to be as smug as ever, realizing that he was able to copy another one of his teammates' abilities to direct another hit towards Deku, allowing Shinso to directly attack him. It was that one dude who has the twin impact ability, and I didn't realize that you could actually like delay it and wait for that second hit to actually come in, but that's basically what happened, where Monoma copied his abilities. He hit Deku just barely earlier on in the last episode, and here, right as Deku's beginning his first assault on Shinso, he's able to unleash it even while he's in the prison, the little jail cell that they've created for him, and basically he ends up decking Deku directly in the face. This doesn't really mean anything, as when Shinso tries to attack him with his weird Aizawa raps, Deku just manages to plow through all of this and manages to just barely take him down without completely destroying his body, and thankfully no one else's, with his incredibly destructive quirk. Basically, he was able to get his shit together in that moment, and he was able to take down Shinso, and it was a really triumphant moment, I do have to say. And while a part of me did want to see Shinso actually maybe even potentially beat the main character, if only to subvert our expectations a little bit, it was a great moment for Deku, as he was able to overcome the odds, control himself, compose himself, and allow him to help out his other teammates, as yes, there is a conclusion to the big battle here, and Team A wins, which basically means Class A has officially won this competition. The prize is basically a life lesson, a lesson about learning to work with oneself and with one another and what it truly means to be a hero. Not everyone's going to be All Might and immediately have all the power in the universe. They're going to have to actually work for it. So what's the rundown on the latest episode of My Hero Academia? A pretty short, a pretty sweet, a pretty satisfying kind of episode. There's a lot of things that I really liked about this one, and of course, being that I am an action junkie, a lot of that definitely came from the action itself, which for the most part looked really good. It was surprising that this was not the flashiest battle that we actually saw from this competition, but it was certainly one of the more satisfying ones. There were some really great looking moments in this episode. I especially love all the moments with Shinso, a character who got a tremendous amount of development from this arc, and getting to see him grow and change, and how it basically dawned on me in this episode that he literally is a next generation Aizawa. He not only looks like him, has a lot of his similar characteristics and qualities, but just the fact that he's being able to master and using those rap abilities like fucking Spider-Man in this episode. Like, there's some great shots of him just swinging around this place, which look really damn cool. But Deku also was just great, especially the moment when he finally does manage to take him down. And I love that there's no bad blood between the characters. I love that they manage to inspire each other even when they're beating the shit out of one another. It's really freaking cool. I just really love everything about it. Every character got a chance to really shine here. Even Monoma, who completely just pisses me off most of the time, was surprisingly awesome in this episode. He's completely content with not being as what he considers to be the main character of the series. He's one of those side characters which manages to outshine the main character, which again is totally in line with his personality. It's exactly the type of thing that he would believe and actually say out loud to someone, which I think is really funny about his character. He's a fictitious character living in a non-fiction world in some ways. He's just so self-aware of who he is that it always makes him really fun to watch. And yes, I would have liked maybe a little more time spent with watching Mina and Mineta actually do more, because again, a lot of the times they are relegated to basically just being funny, goofy-looking characters. But they did have some really great moments here, and they all got to fully succeed. Class A totally dominated this battle, and they all did really good, and watching them all work together again is one of the biggest things about this entire series. But ultimately, it ends this entire arc pretty quickly, and we're getting ready to move on to something else, whether it's going to be more training or something a little more story-centric. I'd prefer something story-centric, remains to be seen. But honestly, I really enjoy these training segments. It gives an opportunity to let the characters grow and become different, to become older, wiser, utilizing their powers in different ways, and it makes them much richer characters, in my opinion. And the series has done a great job of actually doing that. A lot of that is owed to the tremendously good pacing of the show, too, I have to admit. I really wish a lot of my favorite long-running anime series would look at the show as a model and decide to do things on a more, seasonal-based thing. I'm looking at you, Boruto, in One Piece. I really wish they could do that to keep the quality up, because this was definitely a quality episode, not only in terms of the storytelling, but just overall the action too. I thought it was really cool. It was kind of disappointing that we didn't get to see Deku using more of the Black Whip. There was a great moment where Shinso tries to crush him with all these pipes, and he manages to manifest it at the last second, grabbing them and throwing them away, and I wanted to see more of that. But again, even Deku realizes in this episode that in order to fully utilize this ability, he's going to have to master One for All. That's just the way that it's going to have to work for him. But it gets me excited to see what other powers are actually going to eventually manifest in him as the series goes on, as now it's going beyond just running fast, jumping high, and punching really hard. Now we're going to see a lot of really unique abilities, which I'm very excited to see. Everything in this episode worked, and it's a great conclusion to the first major arc of this season, so I'm excited to see what's going to be next. I'm guessing maybe in the next episode we're going to get a little bit of a slower, more refreshing type of episode, but I could be wrong. We could be moving into the next major arc of the series, just head first, bull in a china shop style. We're just going to have to wait and see. But otherwise, I thought that this one was pretty damn solid. So I'm dropping a 4 out of 5 on this one right here. I thought it was really cool. You got my thoughts. I want to get yours. Let's discuss this episode in the comment section below. Tell me what you thought about it, what you're hoping to see from the rest of the series. So there it is, guys. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.